Hello everyone and welcome to Reuters Events Supply Chain USA 2026. I'm Paddy LeCount, the Senior Portfolio Manager for the Supply Chain Sector at Reuters Events, and today I'm joined by Razat Gaurav, the CEO of Kinaxis. Thanks very much for being here today. I just want to kick off with a little bit about Kinaxis as a brand, and also you've been speaking here today. What's the key message you're looking to get across?
Look, we've been in the supply chain planning, decisioning, orchestration space for several years, and we have a lot of our customers here, so it's a great venue for us to meet our customers. As part of the keynote, I did a fireside chat with one of our key customers, Scott's Miracle-Gro. They're a very large fertilizer, agricultural products and mulch company, right? And the key themes there were really around how our organizations dealing with all the demand and supply volatility, number one. How is that impacting their approach to inventory strategies? And then how are they transforming their ways of working, leveraging AI? And those were the three broad themes we anchored on and had a really good discussion. And Dave, who's the head of supply chain at Scott's Miracle-Gro, did a great job.
Yeah. And you've alluded to disruption there, but what are you seeing as the biggest challenge for supply chain and logistics exec at the moment, and what does a good response to that challenge look like?
Yeah, look, I think supply chain logistics is a very operational environment, as you know, right? And it feels like I've been talking about all the change and variability and the volatility in supply chains for a long time, right? What I will tell you is the pace of change and the rate of change is unprecedented in many regards. I track some of these volatility indices, and one of them is done by the Federal Reserve here in the US, and it's called the Supply Chain Pressure Index, right? That is a good measure of the demand-supply volatility and the pace of change. And of course, that peaked during COVID, an all-time high ever. It kind of subsided, and now in the last, I would say, 12, 18 months, it's again become a lot more volatile. And so supply chain executives, I feel, are grappling with demand and supply variability. A lot of that is because of, tariff regulation, geopolitical reasons, but a lot of it is also because of changing, demand patterns from generational shifts in the consumer base, or it's because of new product lines and innovations happening in new product introductions, or it's because of technology and what technology can enable as new operating models emerge. So there's just a lot of change that supply chain executives and leaders are dealing with right now. And in the middle of all of that, supply chains account for all the inventory that is stuck on companies' balance sheets. So they get pressure from the CFO and the CEO and the boards of companies in how they're driving productivity improvements, how are they looking to get working capital efficiencies, how are they reducing their cost to serve from an operating cost perspective. And oh, by the way, what have they done with AI lately to achieve all of that, right? So it's just a lot of things all coming at them at the same time. And organizations we work with are trying to navigate through all of that, rethink the talent and their organization structure, rethink their processes, their systems landscape, and really think about how to go about creating agility, creating adaptability as a fundamental design principle in their supply chain. At the same time, really transform their ways of working and decisioning and orchestration so they can drive the next wave of productivity improvements.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. The volume of disruption, the volume of new tech, the speed of change, it's a challenge, but it presents opportunity. What do you think is maybe over the next 12 to 18 months? What's the biggest opportunity for supply chain leaders to focus on, and what's going to separate those who grab that to those who let it go past?
Yeah, look, it's situational based on the industry you're in. The type of company are you? Are you a multi-divisional, multi-product, multi-regional company? Are you more domestic? So it's very situational. Are you in the high-tech sector where the product life cycles are shrinking rapidly, or are you in more of a sort of a replenishment-oriented business like, washing detergents, for example, right? It's all very different. But what I would say is, if I was to kind of sort of generalize across these industries and across the world and take out all the nuances of each industry and region and country, The one thing I'll say is I think there's a unique opportunity now to think boldly and to really reimagine, how supply chain processes have been structured, how supply chain operating models have been structured, and how they can reimagine sort of decision making and in a way that gets you to really leverage the data you have access to, AI capabilities that you have access to. And that could be really exciting because you could really transform the guts of your operations, but in a way that achieves tens of billions of dollars worth of value in the coming years, right? And the time to innovate and the time to take out some capacity for experimentation is very important because things are changing very rapidly. But if you don't change, if the rate of change external to your organization is greater than the rate of change internal to your organization, as we know, the end is near, right? And so how you develop that change muscle in the organization is going to become very, very important for organizations. And whatever change we've experienced in the last 5 years, will think about the change in the next 5 years will be 3x of that, right? And so everyone's got to be prepared for that. And humans don't like change. None of us like change, right? But it's going to be essential to staying competitive, surviving, and thriving.
You mentioned being bold, being creative, and we've talked about AI earlier, and obviously earlier on stage. What are the most interesting or maybe unexpected ways you're seeing AI being used to edit operations and supply chains?
Yeah, it's almost like sort of a phased crawl, walk, run approach to AI, right? I mean, supply chain decisions have been powered by predictive and prescriptive AI for a number of years now, including companies like us. A lot of the demand planning, a lot of the supply planning, production planning, inventory planning leverages advanced machine learning algorithms and deep optimization and heuristics capabilities, right? And those are still very relevant and important. What's new, of course, is generative AI and agentic AI, right? That's come about more so in the last 3 or so years. And I think part of the journey here beyond the leverage of prescriptive and predictive AI is to really bring new levels of efficiency. So now you have agents that can help the human persona become a lot more productive. So, for example, a lot of supply chain planners interface with our application, right? So what would take them, 8 hours can be done in 8 minutes, as an example, right? And now the question is, how do they spend their time for the freed up time that they now have, right? To do more value-added things, to understand their customers better, to understand their trading partners better, to invest in developing the relationships better, right? So I think that's the first phase, and many organizations are really kind of going ahead and embarking on that journey and using agents. And there's hundreds and thousands of use cases for agents in supply chain. I think the next phase is going to be important, which is you're not just, shaving off a few hours and a few minutes here and there. You're actually truly rethinking your processes, right? And you're going to have situations where you reimagine how you make decisions. You reimagine how you position inventory, for example. You reimagine the way you think about your supply chain network, right? And that, I think, is going to have a far greater amount of value creation opportunity, but is also going to come with a lot more change and change management in the organization as well, right? Companies are early in that journey, in our experience, but I think it's going to be exciting because that's what's going to create a tremendous amount of value in the next 3 to 5 years. I think there's going to be a third phase, which is where it's more sort of an R&D mode right now, is when agentic personas, are becoming teammates to human personas. But over time, there'll be many tasks in the supply chain that are repetitive that are becoming, agentified, right? But then, how these agents and these human personas coexist. What is the decision governance on what decisions can be made by agents versus what decisions need to be made by humans? I think that's where a lot of, deeper thought has to be put together. And I think there'll be a lot of learning cycles in the coming years. No one has a prescription or the answer to all those questions yet, right? But that's exciting because if you're willing to innovate and experiment and go through those learning cycles, I think there'll be a lot of breakthrough opportunities there as well.
Yeah. And one final question from me. We're obviously here at a live event. We'll talk about data and AI a lot there, but what's the real value for you in coming to an event like Supply Chain USA, meeting people, shaking hands with people, talking to customers? What are the key values that you take out of being here?
Well, in some ways, COVID taught us that there's no sort of substitute for in-person interactions, right? And especially as we think about interfacing with our customers, our partners, that in-person time is super important because that's where you really get to know each other. You build the relationships, you build the trust, right? It's also a great venue for us as a technology provider in the supply chain industry to come and listen to what is happening in the industry from the practitioners, right? So it's not just about us talking and developing deeper relationships, it's also us listening and learning on what's shaping in the industry. And this event brings a good crowd of some leading supply chain organizations and leaders from those organizations, and we can meet them all in one place. It's very efficient. It's beautiful weather at this time of the year in Chicago, so that helps. But that's really the biggest opportunity is to in a 2-day time frame you're able to get a lot done, have a lot of interactions, and it's partly you meeting, like us meeting with our customers and our partners, but also us listening to the industry and learning and taking away, which ends up influencing our investment decisions and our product roadmaps as well.
Brilliant. Well, Razat, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.